Do you want to see a huge collection of new simulation games? Well, I got 50 total games to tell you about. Hello, my name's GamerZakh and welcome to my 30 upcoming PC simulation games for 2021 and 2022 list, with 20 bonus mentions. Now, this list focuses on more gamey system building and management tycoon games, so not straight up realistic simulators. There's not much use mixing games like Flight Simulator and 2 Point Hospital together, as they're clearly different genres. So there's a distinction, so you know what you're getting into. I've spent a lot of time on this, so if you do appreciate what you see here, please do like, subscribe, and share the video with your simulation communities, as it really does help keep this channel running and these videos being made. Also, be sure to vote on your favorite game from the list over at gamerzakh.com/listhub. Extra games, bonus behind the scenes, and a Discord community you can join are all there, or follow on Twitter to reach me directly. You can also subscribe to this channel for more like these lists, looks at new games, and nostalgic gaming content. And follow on Twitch to see me live. Alright, now let's get started. Beginning the simulation, we start with Hammerting by Warpzone Studios. What feels like Oxygen Not Included but with fantasy dwarves, this is a colony management game where you'll be surviving inside of a mountain, excavating resources, building forges, all while refining materials and crafting tools. You can explore the caves too, but beware dangerous creatures and maybe don't dig too deep. One nice feature is that there's a world map where you can influence a war ensuing on the surface by fulfilling requests of resources or epic items that only you can create. Lose too many locations and it's game over. Conquer the map and it's victory. Entering early access in 2020, the base game felt nice, but there were a lot of uncomfortable quirks and missing features, which made it all feel difficult to play. The roadmap does cover pretty much every gripe I had, so as Hammerting goes towards a 2021 release, it should be forged into a much stronger game. That's my hope anyway. Next we've got Embark by Overly Complicated Games. Inspired by Dwarf Fortress, Minecraft, and The Sims, this is a colony management game where you'll be building a base, fulfilling colonists' needs, organizing the workforce, farming, mining, hunting, crafting, and exploring in a 3D procedural world. There's also trading with neighboring factions, a combat system, along with modding support. Now, this has been in early access since 2019, but received mixed reviews so far. Many saying that the idea is good, but execution leaves a lot to be desired. Planning to be in early access for up to 2 years, 2021 is supposed to be when it releases properly, but with how things are going, it's unclear if the slack can be picked up in time. Embark might be a nice alternative in the colony management sim arena, but fixing bugs and adding content could be a long endeavor. And then we have Going Medieval by Foxy Voxel. It's time to stake your claim in this colony building sim set in the turbulent Middle Ages. This is about constructing a multi-story fortress along with deep underground mines while defending against raids and keeping your people happy. Generally, the idea sounds good and it looks good too, but colony sims can be rather run-of-the-mill nowadays and there are a lot of them. So this is going to have to really make sure all these features are engaging to stand out from the pack. Development seems to be continuing at a regular pace, and they did get a publisher in 2020, so it should all come together. The plan is to release into early access and have a year of development from there, but it's rare that these games actually stick to their schedules, so we can expect something playable for Going Medieval in 2021, and maybe it can go gold in 2022. And then we have Winkeltje, the Little Shop by Sassybot. Calling itself the Shopkeeping Fantasy, this is a little building, decorating, and business simulation game set in an old world. Buy low, sell high, and satisfy your customers' demands for food, clothes, tools, and alchemical elixirs. Furnish and optimize the layout of your store, expand rooms, craft resources into higher quality things, and farm through seasons and events that happen throughout the year. Having been in early access since 2019, it's gotten few but very positive reviews, and with an update at least once a month recently, it's been going along. There's no fixed release date though, it just says it would take a year or more, and we're approaching 2 years in early access now, so we'll have to see what 2021 brings for this. Maybe not the deepest or most complicated, Winkeltje, the little shop, might be a nice pleasant experience if you're into the theme. Going a bit more modern, we have Good Company by Chasing Carrots. Tycoon management centered around founding a robot manufacturing empire. Grow your business, hire staff, automate production lines, optimize research, and invent new products, all in an ever-evolving market. With a single-player campaign, bonus challenge missions, and free play, this entered early access in 2020 to mostly positive reviews on Steam, so early signs point to this being decent, and there's more on the way. That being co-op multiplayer, more levels and crafting, extended logistical options, modding, and more. The target is to complete the game in 2021 for a full release, but as with most games on this list, delays and setbacks could make it take longer. Either way, we'll see how Good Company will be over the next year. Becoming a bit more customer-centric, Hotel Magnate by Bastion Interactive. Hotel tycoon and management simulation, design and run your own hotel, motel, resort, or even just a tent. You gotta start somewhere. This is all about building and customizing places to attract and impress visitors with rooms, restaurants, spas, gyms, conference halls, along with whatever else you can provide to guests. Make it wacky or make it classy, as theme and decoration play a big role as well. There are choices and consequences too, from which supplier to hire to the price of things, which will affect the kind of clientele you draw. Overall, there seems to be quite a bit to this game, at a glance anyway, and if you're into the hotel management idea, then this could give you all you need. The grand opening for this game is set for 2021, so you'll be able to get things running in Hotel Magnate soon, as long as nothing unexpected happens. And then we've got GolfTopia by MinMax Games. Sim Golf is a classic and an old favorite of mine from the creators of The Sims and Civilization, a collaboration you wouldn't expect but turned out a favorite for many. This looks like a spiritual successor, and after playing some of it, it really is like a sci-fi sim golf. Build your courses, attract players, fight off hostile weeds, and one of the best things, play your own courses as a player yourself. Designing courses can also be pretty crazy with sci-fi transportation features, bonus challenge things like flaming rings, and pinball-like objects that allow you to do wacky things with bouncing the ball around. Overall, it's shaping up well, and if you like golf but not too realistic, then you'll have a lot of fun here. If you like realistic golf, then maybe it's all a bit silly for you. Initially aiming for 6 months in early access, I think it'd be reasonable to expect GolfTopia to tee off properly sometime in 2021. Going a bit more in the production line direction, it's Kubifaktorium by Mirko Seithe. A logistical colony builder where you manage and grow as you discover new lands, craft legendary weapons, and defeat your enemies. The focus is on logistics, transportation, and automation though, so you can expect something that plays a bit like Factorio, and mod support is available as well. Recent updates have introduced a power system, combat redesigns, and a lot more content, so development should be on track. I know the cartoony low-poly style isn't always the most popular approach, but mechanics-wise this seems to have the depth and complexity it needs. Early access started in 2019, so it's been a while now with few but mostly positive reviews, and the plan is still to be in early access for 2 years. So if Kubifaktorium keeps to the plan, then we'll see a full delivery in 2021. Then it's Voxel Tycoon by Voxel Tycoon. Tycoon building that's about transportation, complex factories, and mining in a voxel landscape. In the plans are multiplayer, weather, and other modes of transportation, but for now, logistics rely on rail and road, where you'll need to supply city needs, move passengers, and research tech in an infinite world. Visually, it has the low poly thing going on as well, but it's generally pleasant to look at. Steam Early Access is meant to start in 2020, but towards the end of the year it's still not active there. However, updates on the itch.io version are still continuing and it's likely to come to Steam soon, at which point it'll be 2 years before the final release. That means we could see Voxel Tycoon fully release in 2022, or maybe a little bit later if things progress slowly. For a touch of dinos and more, we have Prehistoric Kingdom by Blue Meridian. Build, manage, and grow the ultimate zoo filled with dinosaurs, ancient mammals, and various other extinct species. Design and decorate the landscape, terraform your park, develop infrastructure, care for your guests and staff, and play with genetics. This isn't the first modern dinosaur zoo game to release with Jurassic World Evolution and Parkasaurus, but maybe this could be a different take on the subgenre and might be able to bring something new to the table. Scheduled to open in early access on Steam in mid-2021, Prehistoric Kingdom is meant to complete by the end of 2022, as long as nothing gets destroyed in the process. And then we get Dastardly with Evil Genius 2 World Domination by Rebellion. A title that drags up nostalgia for fans of the original and excitement for many. This is a satirical spy-fi layer builder that's a lot like Dungeon Keeper, but instead of demons, you're a criminal mastermind hell-bent on world domination. Construct your base, train minions, manage your systems, and defend against the forces of justice who are attempting to foil your evil plans. Clever usage of traps should stop wannabe saboteurs and keep you on your way to developing your ultimate doomsday device. What we've seen so far has been pretty solid, but we haven't seen all that much raw gameplay, so we don't know the state of the game really until it's actually released, which unfortunately the date has been pushed back. Delayed into 2021, us aspiring masterminds should finally be able to get our hands on Evil Genius 2 World Domination then. Into the underworld, we've got City of Gangsters by SomaSim. From the creators of 1849, that impression-styled city builder set in the Californian Gold Rush, and Project High Rise, the Sim Tower successor, comes a gangster management simulation game. Start a crime syndicate from nothing and turn it into a well-oiled money-making machine. Build speakeasies, illegal distilleries, and manage production chains and logistics as you smuggle goods and bribe cops. Set 100 years ago in Prohibition USA, social currency is as important as greenback, and you can't do it alone. Keep your crew paid, armed, and organized as you try to control as much territory as possible. 2021 is when this is meant to release, but the competition seems to be striking first, and there's no denying City of Gangsters' similarity to the next game on this list, so it looks like it's going to be a turf war. Here's the rival gang, and I'm making an exception for the release date, Empire of Sin by Romero Games. Genres are a tricky thing, and here's one that mixes and matches. Kind of a turn-based tactics strategy game that also has a big focus on running the business side of things, like a Tycoon management sim, where you'll be managing speakeasies, breweries, brothels, and casinos, along with hotels. There's RPG elements with the characters, quests, boss-on-boss sit-downs, and it being a paradox game, even touches of gang-based grand strategy with diplomacy, warfare, and territory control. With all this, it's hard to decide what list to put it on, but I think we can sum it all up as a gangster simulation. But whatever it is, it's looking very intriguing. You are at the heart of a ruthless 1920s criminal underworld set in Prohibition-era Chicago, and you're trying to be the big boss of the city. Okay, technically this game released right towards the end of 2020, but I'm making an exception since I didn't list it last year, and it's a Paradox game, so expect a ton of DLC to be released for Empire of Sin through 2021 and 2022. Also, there are a number of issues and bugs with the game at the start, so maybe just look at this in a few months anyway. From getting involved in politics from the gangster side to politics themselves, Democracy 4 by Positech Games. The de facto political government simulation game. This is the series that has been the go-to for playing through the idea of governance using policies and laws as a president or prime minister. Transform countries as you see fit while still being re-elected. Or not. There has been criticism of the series at times in terms of how realistic the simulation is, and if things would actually play out as it does in-game. So that's something that's always a balancing act, and they do say they try to keep the game as unbiased as possible, but this is still in early access towards the end of 2020, and has been receiving very positive reviews, so it's probably doing something right. In this latest iteration, expect a revamped user interface, new policies more related to today's worlds, new events, new government mechanics, and an overhaul of the simulation to make things more nuanced and sophisticated. It sounds good, and initial plans aim for a 2021 release for Democracy 4, but it depends how the public reacts. From politics to hell. Maybe not that big of a step. Warning, this next game has a lot of cartoon violence. Hell Architect by Woodland Games. Not associated with Prison Architect, here you build and manage your own personal hell. This looks like a combination of Oxygen Not Included with, I don't know, Happy Tree Friends or something. It's all about building the underworld to efficiently and effectively torture those that come through the fiery gates. Start with basic buildings and power stations, canteens, shrines, and then intricate and often violent torture machines. It did run a Kickstarter for a very low amount, around just under $7,000, but it hit that target in a couple days, so there is quite a bit of interest in this. Having said that, is this just a pile of gimmicks for a bit of short-lived shock factor? Or is it actually going to be a good game? I'm not sure how much footage I can show of Hell Architect, so I've cut together a few more savory bits here. If you want a closer look, go check it out yourself. Staying underground but in secret. Mr. Prepper by Rejected Games. Build an underground shelter, craft machines, trade, survive, hide from the secret police, and plan in this pre-apocalyptic world. It's an interesting premise having to build all this before the world ends, and it's a nice twist, though gameplay like this does still run the risk of being bland, as colony builders aren't exactly rare, and pre- or post-nuclear catastrophe has a lot of comparison to be made in other games for its story, design, and lore. Hopefully not only the complexity and depth go far, but personality as well has some uniqueness to it. The full version beta tests are ongoing at the end of 2020, meaning the full launch should be happening soon in 2021. Also, there is a free prologue demo of the game you can check out, so you can see for yourself if Mr. Prepper is something you want to be waiting for. Now, launching into space, we have Ragnorium by Vitali Kirpu. Planet recolonization with base building, survival on alien planets, and cloning. You'll start by assembling your ship with resources and colonists and beginning an odyssey to a new world. Construct, earn technologies, fight invaders, complete objectives, and handle events. Visually, it's pretty stylized as well in a kind of 3D pixely cell shading kind of way, which is kind of refreshing, being different. It's a small development though, so achieving mass amounts of content and high levels of polish could be a difficulty, but Devolver Digital picked it up as a publisher, so it's got some support. After entering early access in 2020, it's received few but mostly positive reviews on Steam, and it seems the issues it has are being fixed and improved upon. Early access meaning to last between 1 to 2 years, notably depending on the implementation of boss battles, Ragnorium seems like a colony management sim that could be a favorite of many. Staying in space, it's Dyson Sphere Program by Youthcat Studio. This is a sci-fi simulation builder that's about constructing the most efficient factories by harnessing the power of suns. Planets to discover, mecha designing, monsters and aliens, transportation and logistics, and more are promised in your task of building an interstellar empire. It looks good at first glance and has an interesting premise for a production line, resource and manufacturing simulation game, but my main concern is that it turns out a little generic or bare bones, as things tend to go in this subgenre. They're going to have to deliver on all their promises, and the Kickstarter for the game has a target of about $10,000, which isn't a lot to produce a game. It's planning on a 2021 early access release, so hopefully Dyson's Sphere program does end up being something special despite the challenges. Next we've got Starmancer by Ominux Games. Obey protocol or go rogue in the space colony building management game with ports, secret laboratories, and ethically questionable human farms. You'll also need to survive against starvation, sabotage, and space cannibals, but you know, if anyone dies, you can always grow more. You are an AI that needs to sustain the life of your people who need power, water, and atmosphere, and also have memories and personalities. The world is procedural, there's diplomacy with neighbors, and your actions have consequences such as insanity and mutiny. There really does seem like there's a lot to this. Now, through 2020, there was a pretty big gap between updates, but in November, they updated that they're just keeping their heads down and working on a bunch of things, from new content, UI features, missions, star systems, and just so much more, which is great to hear. They still can't say anything about a rough release window though, so it could be a long while more until we get to properly play Starmancer. More space colonies in Space Haven by Bugbite. Undertake a space voyage with a motley crew of civilians looking for a new home. Build spaceships, manage gas, handle the needs and moods of your crew, encounter spacefarers, and explore the galaxy in the spaceship colony simulation game. Customization and optimization of your station is a big part of gameplay, and all the characters in the game have personalities, skills, and traits. There are also missions, hostile aliens, ship-to-ship combat, along with various factions you'll run into, and resources to harvest from the galaxy. This entered early access on Steam in 2020 and blew up with many very positive reviews. So it's hit the ground running, and we can expect Space Haven to be in early access for 1 to 2 years. So if it stays on target, we can see it finished by 2022. Something old made new, we've got Space-Based Startopia by Realm Forge Studios. A spiritual successor to the original Startopia from 2001, you can expect modernized economic simulations, empire building, and classic RTS skirmishes imbued with what should be sharp-witted humor. An extensive 10-mission campaign, competitive single-player and multiplayer gameplay, a dynamic AI that reacts to your decisions, sandbox mode, and cooperative 4-player multiplayer are all promised features right now. Humor, however, can be a tricky thing to pull off. Jokes can get stale and repetitive if not written well enough, and many games straddle that line, often falling into cheesy or cringy territories. Though we've seen it work with games like Dungeon Keeper and 2 Point Hospital, so hopefully it all stays fresh through the many hours of gameplay. Orbiting around a spring 2021 release window, it shouldn't be too long until we can board Space-Based Startopia. And then we've got a highly anticipated one, Kerbal Space Program 2 by Intercept Games. KSP was a phenomenon and continues to have thousands of players building rockets, landing on celestial bodies, and crashing countless Kerbals straight into the ground. The much anticipated sequel is now on the way with improved onboarding, a new engine enabling more puzzles and challenges, colonies to build, interstellar travel, multiplayer, and modding. Originally, it was supposed to release in 2020, but it got multiple big delays, with an announcement now confirming that it will be releasing in 2022 earliest, and maybe even 2023. There's also been a change of developers, and overall the project feels very unstable with an uncertain future. Who knows if it'll be delayed further as well. So don't hold your breath in the void that is Kerbal Space Program 2, as it's going to be a bit of a wait before it becomes a reality, if it does make a landing at all. And then we have Utopia Colony by Grid Sky Software. The year is 2033, and you are an ex-marine tasked with setting up a mining operation on Mars. Start out with a small base and earn credits by mining ore. Once you have enough, buy a rover, explore the wasteland, upgrade your base with new buildings, acquire more equipment, and complete missions. You're also going to have to survive radiation, dust storms, along with the need for food and water. But overall, this is meant to be more of a chill experience, hanging out and building up on the red planet. This could be nice, but also sounds like it could be a bit basic in the experience, but maybe with how complex some of the other games on this list are, a little simplicity might be nice. Releasing into early access in 2020 with very few but mostly positive reviews, it's stated to need some months to finish the game, but essentially it's supposed to be close to being completed already. That means as long as those statements hold true, Utopia Colony is looking to establish itself properly by 2021. In a similar vein, Occupy Mars the Game by Pyramid Games. It's time to embark on the big human endeavor of colonizing Mars by building a base, exploring various regions, setting up mining operations, and handling essential resources like oxygen, water, and food. Fixing broken parts and machinery will also be required, as vehicles are a big part of getting around the red planet. This could be cool, but survival base builders like this always need something special to make it really interesting, and it's all too easy to end up generic. The plan is to enter early access and for it to be in there for 1 year, but we've been waiting and watching for this one for quite a while already, and dev times almost always run long for games like this. Plus, early access was supposed to start in 2020, but it seems like it's been delayed again. There is a free prologue that you can play now though, if you want to have a try. However, it turns out hopefully we get something more playable for Occupy Mars the Game in 2021, though no promises. And then we have one that got very popular, Satisfactory by Coffee Stain Studios. First-person sci-fi construction and automation on an alien planet. Exploit the natural resources, fend off local wildlife, and build multi-story facilities, conveyor belt systems, and automated vehicles as you research new technologies. Do it all yourself, or team up with others in multiplayer and build together. Essentially, this has been deemed a first-person Factorio of sorts. At the time of making this video, they've been going through big updates and content additions, most recently the Fluids update for pipelines, valves, and liquids. It's in early access now, but it's been pretty packed with content already, and after an exclusivity period on the Epic Games Store, it's now on Steam with a huge amount of overwhelmingly positive reviews, so this has been going well. Although there is no proper confirmation for a full release, tentatively Satisfactory is loosely aiming for a rough 2022 completion date, maybe, which will probably be missed, but you never know. Going a bit further back in time, it's Medieval Dynasty by RenderCube. Live a life in a medieval village of your own creation. Gather resources, survive seasons, build structures, recruit people to your village, organize your workforce, complete quests, trade, pay taxes, get married, have kids, and die to have your dynasty continue. There's a lot to this game, and at first glance it might look like another generic survival game where you build up a base, but with all the organization and management you're doing, it's a lot more like a colony lifestyle or business simulation game even. The main concern here is that it stays unfinished for years because there's just so much content it needs, and it could take a long time to get it done. There is also a similar game by the same publisher but different developers called Lumberjack's Dynasty, which hasn't been as popular, but if you're interested in that you can check that out as well. But Medieval Dynasty has proven to be far more popular and resonant with players. So we can expect this to get a lot more support and development through early access that it's in right now, with a planned 2021 full release. But you know, it wouldn't be surprising if this was delayed either. And now for Life Sims. Ever After Falls by Square Husky is our first one. You wake up and discover your life on Earth was just a simulation. Time to start a new one. Stardew Valley has clearly inspired many other farming life sims over the past few years, and here's one that's just getting kickstarted. Farm, fish, craft, and more by yourself or in split-screen co-op. Explore, complete quests, gain new abilities, fight with action RPG gameplay in dungeons, utilize drones, and decorate your home and the town. The visual style is rather cartoony and simplistic, so I know quite a few people would be turned away just based on how this looks, but after looking at it for a while, it does kind of grow on you and has a kind of light-hearted charm to it. Running a Kickstarter for a little over $25,000, it crossed that target by a reasonable margin, so it's well on its way. Is this just a Stardew clone, or is there something more to offer with Ever After Falls? I suppose that's up to you. Next we have My Time at Sandrock by Pathea Games. Much like its predecessor, My Time at Portia, this is a sandbox life sim builder with RPG elements where you'll be building up your workshop and saving the town from economic ruin, all set in a wholesome post-apocalyptic world. Customize and construct intricate machines, explore the vast deserts, a promise of more story along with deeper characters, revamped combat, and of course farming, cooking, and relaxing. There will also be up to 4-player multiplayer as a separate game mode. Raising over $500,000 on Kickstarter, there is quite a bit of interest in this game already, and we're looking at a March 2021 early access release, and then a completed game a year later in 2022, for My Time at Sandrock. Now we're going to look at an actual The Sims competitor called Paralives by Alex Massey. The Sims, but without EA and a lot more customization. That sounds like a dream come true for many, and this is an indie dollhouse life simulation game centered around living and dying in a highly modifiable home. Since showing off character creation, the game is starting to take real shape, and it's all funded by crowdfunding where the developers are getting a ton of support. My main concern is that the game lacks the charm and quirkiness of The Sims universe, which I'd say is half the reason why The Sims is a success in the first place, and that the high levels of customization might turn out to be tedious or overwhelming. Gridless construction, resizable objects, split-level floors, custom stairs, and curved walls is a lot. Having said that, visually and mechanically, Paralives is showing a lot of promise in being a Sims competitor, and I'm interested to see how it all works out in the end. And now for the final game, but keep watching because we have 20 bonus games after this one. And I'm not sure if you know that this was in production, The Sims 5 by Maxis. In an interview with the CEO of Electronic Arts, we know that this is in pre-production through 2020. Although said to be staying true to what makes it a Sims game, that being focusing on fulfilling the motivations of inspirations, escape, creation, and self-improvement, more online and social elements will probably be added, like things from The Sims Online. It's unclear if this means it will have actual multiplayer or just more seamless social and creative interaction between players. Many consider The Sims 4 a step backwards compared to the third iteration of the game, but maybe with new tech and cloud services, this can not just be a step forward, but a bit of a leap to get ahead again. Of course, don't think it won't have countless DLCs, expansions, and stuff packs that altogether would cost more than a next-gen console. But looking at the schedule, The Sims 3 released in 2009, and 5 years later The Sims 4 released. It's now been over 6 years and 10 expansions, so a Sims 5 release is expected over the next year or so, especially with the release of the PS5 and Xbox Series X next-gen consoles, which Sims 5 would most certainly be eventually coming to as well. I expect it will be revealed with a release date less than a year after, so instead of waiting for a Sims 5 reveal then missing it in this list, I'm letting you know about it now. Alright, now for a bunch of bonus games, but if you made it this far, you probably enjoyed your time here, and it would be greatly appreciated if you could like, subscribe, share this video, and ring that bell, as it really does help keep this channel running. Head over to GamerZakh.com/listhub to vote on your favorite game from the list and for bonus stuff. Also, you can support more directly using the Humble Bundle referral link to buy games, perusing my gaming merch store where I design my own products, or checking out the Patreon or Subscribestar to really help keep the lights on. All linked down below, along with the Discord community, Twitch live streams, and social media accounts where I'm active and contactable. Now for those 20 bonus simulation games, starting with a bunch of games I've listed before and are meant to release by the end of 2020. If these games say they're going to release in 2020 and I've listed them before, then I'm not going to put them in the main list this time. I'm gonna go through them, starting with Founder's Fortune, Farming Life, Zookeeper, Machinki, Rebel Inc. Escalation, The Universe Sim, we're finally getting that apparently, and Per Aspera, which has been quite promising actually. And then I want to let you know about a few interesting projects which might not quite fit in the list properly. And we have Ecosystem, which is more of an evolution simulator thing, and you get to create some really crazy creatures that may or may not want to continue living. Oi Inkeep. I've been listing this one for a few years and it looks super interesting, but it's hard to find any significant news or updates through 2020, so I'm not sure how that's going. Potionomics is something that a lot of people have been talking about, but it's not quite really a simulation game in that sense. Maybe it's a bit too mobile for you, it uses cards. Maybe it's a bit too simplistic, so I'm not sure whether it fits in the main list, but it's interesting to look at anyway. Commonhood. This has gone 6 months without any particular notable update, and it's looking rough even in the trailer. But it could be something cool, I'm just not too sure about it. And I really like this one, Cloud Gardens. It's kind of like Townscaper in the city building list, but this is not so much of a game as it is an interactive toy. But this has also been very popular and satisfying. You use plants to overgrow abandoned wasteland dioramas, and it looks really cool. And now for a few that entered early access a few years ago and were rather confident for a quick release, meant to only be in early access for a few months to a year, and I've listed these before as well. Simple Rockets 2, this was supposed to release in 2019, but they're just taking as long as they like now. Factory Town, this was confident that they would release in 2019, but it didn't. Goblins of Elderstone. This was meant to be in early access for a max of 12 months, but it's been 2 years and it still doesn't have a window for full release. The dev studio was picked up by Crytivo though for publishing, so hopefully this will be a smoother journey now. And then for developments that have been taking a very, very long time, like many years, there's Seelig. It's been in early access since 2017, stating that it'll take at least a year to release. It's been 3, and there's no clear release window yet. Automation has been in early access since 2015. Software Inc. It's been in early access since 2015, and it's still in alpha. The Last Leviathan. It's like Besieged but on water, which has been in early access since 2016. And Scrap Mechanic has been in early access since 2016 as well. And finally, I just want to mention that Planet Golf and other Planet game titles were trademarked by Frontier. So we might get something more than Planet Zoo over the next couple years, but nothing is confirmed. They've just registered some trademarks. So we can keep an eye on that. And that's it. 30 plus upcoming simulation games that should be releasing through 2021 and some into 2022, depending on their development. Which ones are you most excited about? Also, here's something I'd like to know. What do you think makes a good simulation game? Does it have to have a ton of complexity for gameplay, or is a simple game with a nice theme good enough? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you'd like to see more upcoming games, check out the other lists on the channel sorted by genre shown at the top of the video, like city building and space, for many more upcoming PC games, or my Gamer Encounters series where I take a much more extensive gameplay look at specific games. Alright, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and I'll see you in the next video.